We're here at the Gaithersburg Book Festival to talk with Garrett Peck about his book, The Smithsonian Castle and the Seneca Quarry. So Garrett, tell us about your book and what got you interested in the topic.
Cool. Well, the book is the first ever book ever written or researched about the Seneca Quarry, which is this long forgotten site here in Montgomery County, Maryland, and it's right on the C&O Canal. It's actually physically part of the C&O Canal National Historical Park, and it is the quarry where they got the redstone for the Smithsonian Castle and hundreds of other buildings around the Washington, D.C. and Baltimore area. So a pretty significant site. No one knows it exists, practically. I mean, it's just lost in the woods. It may as well not even exist. But it's a fascinating site and hugely important for the development of the Washington, D.C. region.
What kind of audience would you say your book is geared toward? Who do you think would be reading your book, and why should people read your book?
People who be interested in the book are people like me who are history nerds, you know. I mean, people who love local history and finding out a mystery you've never heard about before, you know. So it's a 40,000 word book. It's really meant to be very accessible to every reader, and also people who like architecture, people who like to learn about the Grant presidency. There's a big scandal involving President Grant and the quarry that I uncovered, and that none of Grant's biographers ever covered before. So yeah, generally people who like local history and people who like history in general, I think would be very pleased with the book. And it's all original research. I mean, there was no quarry company records left, unfortunately, so I had to go dig in the archives to go find this stuff, and the stuff I uncovered is it's really jaw-dropping. You know, so you can see, finding old photos. I found a treasure trove of photos showing the quarry in action. Found the signature of the first quarry owner on a deed transferring the property. So that was pretty cool.
And how long did all of that research take you? Was it a long process to get all that information?
It took the better part of a year to all get it done. This book essentially is a sequel to my last book, which was called The Potomac River, History and Guide. And in that book, I had found the Seneca Quarry and visited it a couple times and was just amazed that here's this hugely historic site sitting right on the C&O Canal, and no one knows it's there. And there's not even a single historical sign or anything for it. And so before I even quite realized that I was already researching the book, I got about 2 months into it and I realized I'm writing a book about this, aren't I? So I quickly had the outline written and then wrote out my research plan and so on, and started digging through the archives. And here we are, a year later, we got the book out. So.
What is your next step? What do you think is coming up for you in the future?
I've got a couple different books I'm working on. The most immediate one is called The Lost Decade, which is a national journalistic history of the first decade of the 21st century, kind of the main events that happened in American history. And then I've got another list of local histories I'd like to go write. So my editor really wants me to go write a book about brewing in Washington, and the working title for that is The Sodom of Suds. And it's a sequel, by the way, to Prohibition in D.C., which I wrote a couple years ago. And 2 years from now is the 150th anniversary of the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. So I'd like to write a book about Walt Whitman in Washington, who spent 10 years in Washington during that time. He was sort of a poet laureate of the Civil War, and lived in D.C. So that's sort of my research agenda for the next couple of years, and my writing agenda.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us, Garrett.
Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate your time.